Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to see you.
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay, so this is a really interesting topic, very, very hot topic. I could easily see this as being one of our most listened to podcasts because I get a lot of questions about this um, from people of all age groups in all different types of sectors. But it's just a really a hot topic today, and that is, hey, I'm a new entrepreneur, or I'm just getting into business. I've got a side hustle, whatever it is, and I want to start building my personal brand. Where do I start? And the platforms right now, there's so much turmoil in social media platforms. What's your take, and where are you with that?
Man, that's a complicated question because the rules change so much that even regular, like normal people are being run off. So for example, you start a fitness channel, you go on YouTube, you think that's fine until somebody asks you, should transgender athletes be able to compete against female athletes? And you're like, wait, I got banned for that. The rules always change. And that's one of the big issues that social media companies are going to have is the rules are going to change. If your content is not controversial, even though, again, that's what's normal today, 5 years from now could be verboten, there could be actual hate speech, then you want to ask, is it going to be text-based or digital-based? If it's digital-based, you want to use Instagram. If it's text-based, you want to use Twitter. You want to get an email list right away. And you should be thinking about buying ads from the get-go. The golden age of the internet before the search engine algorithms were rigged, and I'll go into that and why that matters in a minute, is it used to be you could start a blog. When you would write about things, people would Google those subjects and they would find your blog. Google used to prioritize niche blogs. For example, I used to have a green juicing blog, probably still up. It used to be, if you Googled green juice recipe, I was top 10 on Google. Well, why was I top 10 on Google for green juice recipe? It was a niche blog, hundreds of posts with recipes, very easy to read, original pictures that I took. All these factors would go into that, and if you ended up on my site, you were there for hours. Well, the big media companies got mad because they couldn't compete with the army of Davids. So what did they do? They said, oh, this is unfair. You have to boost us. So now if Business Insider does a blog post, green juice recipe, that'll show up on page one on Google. Even though it's not a niche site, some intern probably wrote it. She probably ripped off the recipe from some other blog. But the algorithm was changed to prioritize so-called mainstream sites. Now, the reason I bring up that little piece of internet history is it matters. It used to be I would tell people, start a blog. Now, I still think people should start a blog because you get into the habit of writing and everything else, but you're not going to get picked up in the search engines like you used to be picked up.
So if I write a blog that, let's say, only talks about Nikon digital cameras, and that's all I write about is Nikon digital cameras, then if the Wall Street Journal does a single article on Nikon digital cameras, they're going to outrank me?
Yes, that was the change. And it was devastating to a lot of people with niche websites. You would think, because here's the way it should work, and the way it used to work is, hey, I'm a photographer. I write reviews on cameras. I have 100 cameras. I have expertise in cameras. Here's articles. I have beautiful pictures. They're very readable. Google would want to send people that page because Google's job as a portal was to give people the best information. But then these mainstream companies, they couldn't compete. So they leveraged and harassed Google under the guise of fake news and all kinds of other disinformation. But really they said, no, you need to give us a boost because they can't compete otherwise. And there's still people who have some success with niche traffic, but it wasn't like it used to be. 2009 to 14 to 2014, the best thing you could do was, if you were a subject matter expert, write on a blog, people would find your blog on Google. And those are the best people you want reading because those are people tailored to your niche that you don't even look for. If you write an article, write some obscure camera lens, and a person Googles, what's that camera lens? You would find that blog. And then very often those people would buy the camera lens using affiliate links on Amazon. So it was great content. the user finds it. It really was passive income. I did probably $25,000 a year on my juicing blog, just in affiliates, links, and other things like that. But now it's negligible, and that's just the way it is. So the advice changes, and that's why people should think about paid traffic. Now, don't blindly spend money on it. There's a lot to it. There's entire books on it, but there's no easy answer anymore. I mean, the right way to do it is you find someone who's a network node and you get that person retweeting your stuff. And I happen to know there are people on Twitter, I don't do this, so please, people, don't email me, but they'll join like a Twitter coaching service. And for $1,000 a month, you'll get, say, 10 retweets out of that month, and then you get taught how to use Twitter. Frankly, depending on the size of the account, that's actually a good deal, because if you look at how much it costs to advertise and whatnot, that's a pretty good deal to learn one-on-one, and then you get a certain number of retweets. And I would say you probably, if I were going to do that, which I'm not for any number of reasons, but if you get with somebody, a Twitter coach, as corny as that sounds, I mean, that's the world we live in, and they'll retweet you every day, that's worth $1,000 a month, and they're teaching you how to do it. That's an approach. Otherwise, you're just going to be grinding for years, and that's why people should think of it as building your social media as a side hustle, half an hour a day, maybe an hour a day. Mm-hmm. Don't get discouraged. Nobody's going to know who you are for a very long time. If you can afford to just take a year and do it full time, then my advice would be a little bit different. So let's say you're newcomer, you're starting off. I would say you just treat it as a part-time job. Live your life too, because plus the people who are the best at social media have big lives. The reason I'm great at social media is because social media didn't exist when I was an upcoming young man. I didn't know even how to. I remember I was on Twitter and I had 100 followers. I thought it was dumb. Like, what's Twitter? This is stupid, right? But I was too busy just kicking ass, living life. And a lot of these people, they want to get good on social media. It's like, yeah, but you're boring. Like, why would I read your account? Like, you're a 22-year-old kid living an ordinary 22-year-old life. That's great. I was 22 once, but if a 22-year-old Mike Cernovich were tweeting, I would have no interest in that account.
Well, so how do you break through then? You're the guy that you want to start a camera blog because you're really passionate about Nikon cameras, right? And so where do you go with that? How do you, if you're the world's expert on, or one of the world's experts on using a Nikon camera, and you want to sell that, maybe that as a coaching program to use the camera, or you want to sell that as, hey, I've got these online manuals or courses or something on how to, use this camera. I mean, what platform do you start with? I mean, is it Twitter, or is it, hey, paid ads on, some other platform? I mean, if you look at some of these platforms right now, like Facebook, I was just reading an article, Facebook's user growth has flatlined in North America. So, we all know what happens.
Okay, so let's do an experiment. $0, $1,000, $10,000, and $100,000. Because that's the way you would say it if you were going to invest money. What would you do if you have $1,000? You'd probably pay off your credit card debt. So $0 is take it as a side hustle, something you enjoy. Some people play golf, some people play tennis. Rather than pay tennis court fees, you're on the internet. That's how I treated it. Half an hour a day. But I was devoted a half an hour a day at the time to a blog. Just wrote a half an hour a day. It wasn't great content. It wasn't genius stuff. Half an hour a day. Why? Because it's a hobby. If 10, 20 people read, I remember I had 100 people on my blog a day. That's all that read it. And that's fine. That's where you start off with. So half an hour a day, you do that. $0. If you have $1,000, then I would do blog. I'd go to Upwork.com and I would hire somebody to do a professional look for my blog, install a pop-up with an email opt-in to a free ebook or something like that. So I would do, like me, what ebook would I do? I don't know, like 1,000 things I could write about. That would depend on your niche, though. So if I were you and I were Mike Boleyn, I would say, download my free ebook on how to wholesale real estate. It's a niche thing. and I'd have a site. People go site, $1,000 because you're going to have to pay the freelancers and whatnot. Now, if I had 10,000, I would go to influencers who are in that niche, and I would say, would you build me a lookalike audience on Facebook using people who have bought your product before? And you would pay them some amount of money. They wouldn't, or they might, maybe you would pay them to send out an email offer for you. But you would go and say, okay, hey, I noticed you're a real estate entrepreneur. I imagine you have a coaching group. Would you send out an email blast to your list telling them to go to my blog or telling them to go somewhere, and I'll pay you, some amount of money, 1,000, it depends on who they are. And then I would say, will you create a lookalike audience so that I can target people with ads? And then that would be an ad spend of, I don't know, $25 a day is where you would start off anyway. Not like you start off with 1,000 a day. And then you would use that approach. If you had 100,000, then you would scale that up, and you would say, okay, hey, Grant Cardone, I want you to interview me. Can I donate $10,000 to your favorite charity and you'll interview me? And he might say no, but you're going to get his attention for that. Grant, that wouldn't be enough. And, but anyway, that's the way you would want to be thinking. You would just say, hey, I know that you have a big platform. I'm new and upcoming. Here's who I am. Here's my product.
Right.
Would you interview me for whatever, 5,000, 10,000? And the value of that would depend on, one, guesswork, because you don't know how it's going to convert. So much of this is you don't know how it's going to convert. You might go on his podcast and nobody cares, or you might find out his audience only cares about him and they don't want to go to anybody else's site, and it's a non-converting offer. You might find that out, or you might find out, oh, wow, he's big. Or you might find out that a lot of times niche influencers are more valuable than the big guns. So rather than say, Tony Robbins, I'll pay you 100,000 for an interview, I bet you that wouldn't convert at all, actually. And I know people have paid him for interviews and they don't convert. You might go to somebody who has a niche audience that's smaller, but they're very much into that person. So if this person says, hey, this book is great, buy this book, that would be more useful. And then the budgeting, again, is just going to be an experiment, but that's what I would do. That's what I do with 100,000. And even with that 100,000, you don't need to be paying people to do all these ad campaigns, and web design is overrated. Your website needs to be fast. You can get a very nice website, fully made with all the fixins, no more than $1,500. Now,
there are like Upwork or Fiverr, those kind of websites. Yeah. There's a lot of people there that overseas that'll build you a website for very little money.
Yeah. Instapages or ClickFunnels. You can create a landing page with ClickFunnels. You can create a landing page with Instapages, and boom, now you're in business. And then you have, but if you're going to pay people to drive traffic, you need to get people on your email list or have some kind of offer or something like that. And that's what I would do. So me, if I were launching a new company, then I would probably raise outside capital, 100,000, maybe 200,000. And then I would do a massive ad blitz using lookalike audiences relative to the niche. So if I were going to sell tennis balls, I would go to whoever the tennis ball people were or whatever. And I would just say, hey, you have an email list. Who's bought your stuff? Create a lookalike audience for that. And I would run ads targeted to that lookalike audience. And you need to write big checks to get kind of people's attention. And even the fact that the thing you'd probably figure out is most of these people, you'd probably offer them too much money because everybody's trying to get them to promote them for free that if you actually, a lot of these people, you could probably say, hey, for $1,000, would you do X, Y, and Z? You'd probably be blown away by how much they do because everybody wants something from nothing with influencers. They assume that influencers aren't a real profession and you shouldn't have to pay them.
Is there a place that you know of? Is there a place on the internet where, the person selling the camera or the tennis balls or whatever, is there a place on the internet where they can go to connect with influencers? Like, is there an agency or something that calls together all the influencers and says, hey, this guy will retweet you for $50 and this guy will give you a shout out for $100 or whatever?
I'm sure there are agencies and I'm sure they're super sketch. Yeah. So I'm certain of two things based on my many, many decades on the internet now. 100% there are agencies that'll do that. 100% chance that they're super sketch. And I don't know anyone reputable doing that at all. And I know that, but I do know that there's all these paid retweet groups and their Instagram. This has been written about in the media. There are all these like DM Instagram groups of teenage influencers. And then they'll go out and get a, oh, this is a handbag or whatever the case is. And then they'll all retweet each other's stuff like reciprocity. And I do know those exist. And there are a ton of these kids making there are teenagers making 6 figures a year just on that kind of stuff. The paid influencer, the paid promo. And that's why there ended up being a crackdown where now you have to say if something's sponsored or not. But I'm sure there's all kinds of people. Well, I know for a fact, I saw a slide deck where a person it was a political thing. He was charging people $20,000 a month to amplify their social media. And lo and behold, this person included me as somebody who would retweet their stuff. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I didn't agree to this. Well, as it turns out, this little weasel would ask me to retweet stuff, and I was friendly with him. So I was like, yeah, I'll retweet it, no big deal. And then he would show his clients, oh, look, Cernovich is retweeting me, and he was making money off my back. And
wow.
It's like, hey, bro, yes. And he listed a bunch of prominent people. And so there's people, that made, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands, not probably, certainly have made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of fraud, lying to their clients that I was part of their little deal, and through fraud by omission, by asking me to retweet their stuff as if I'm doing them a favor, and they weren't charging all kinds of money.
So, okay, so let's say you're the weightlifter guy, and you've got you build out this program on how to build your upper body or whatever, and you want to sell that as a course. I'm seeing some new platforms arise. One of them being Telegram, and then the other is Rockfin.
Well, Telegram.
Talk about those two new sites.
Telegram is where people who have been banned from the internet go as the last stand for free speech. You're going to reach the least amount of people. Rockfin is a social media upstart that has a lot of potential because it's creator friendly, and creators can actually make money based on a very open and transparent model. If you're a brand new influencer, though, you're not going to be able to get people onto the site in a way that's going to move the needle on those sites. Telegram, you don't want to be in Telegram. Telegram is where you go. You have no other resorts because you've been banned from everywhere else. What people do is ClickFunnels. If I were just telling you you're a fitness guy, you're not political, you're not controversial, ClickFunnels and Gumroad. ClickFunnels is an email service, provides you turnkey service with landing pages. Gumroad is where people sell their books, because you can sell your books for whatever you want to sell. At Amazon, if you sell them more than $9.99, your commission goes way down. So you get a 70% commission.
Talk a little bit about this Gumroad. I've vaguely heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Gumroad is where you put your self-published products. You can put a book on there. Mike Boland's real estate wholesale class, 20 pages with checklists, and you can sell it for $50 or $60. You can sell it for $1,000, whatever the market will bear. If you try to sell
these are ebooks, it's a place to sell ebooks or like
ebooks,
white papers,
other information products too. Yeah. There's
okay.
Yeah. So that's
so
what
maybe you're saying you couple that with maybe a ClickFunnels, and then that leads you into Gumroad where you actually sell the actual product.
Well, you have to be able to. You have to have a payment processor set up, and there's a number of things. But I'm talking about this just conceptually. If you're going to treat it, if you're going to start off as a hobby, start a blog, do your social media, network with like-minded people, share other people's articles. If you have a blog and you review Hoax Movie or Guerrilla Mindset, I'm going to link to your stuff without you asking me, right? Don't email people, write book reviews, because then the Google alert shows up. And I go, oh, another hoax review. Now, on a good day, that might be 100 people go to your website. On a great day, I've had tens of thousands of people go to, because even me, I don't know when something's going to catch on. Time of day, what mood people are in. So yeah, don't email people asking for something. Do book reviews. Here's how I met Scott Adams. He had 13,000 Twitter followers at the time. I'd never heard of him as a person. I mean, I'd heard of Dilbert. Everybody heard of Dilbert. And one of the younger guys who has a great account, Xdays, Xdays, did a book review of Scott Adams' book. I read the book and I thought, I like the book. And not only that, but I like Scott Adams. So I wrote 2,500 word review of his book. And because we were like-minded people and in terms of how I view the world. And he linked to it. We started talking throughout the years. He's been in both my films. I consider him a friend, you name it. But I didn't email him, oh, hey, do something for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. Most authors or filmmakers are going to link to reviews of their books. Like 99, unless you're J.K. Rowling or somebody, right? I mean, we're not talking, Stephen King or whatever, but mid-list authors, and that's almost every author. If you're lucky, you're mid-list. And by mid-list, I mean you're doing 10,000, 20,000 books a year. That's actually really big numbers. But people are going to, because 10, 20 book sales a day actually is noticeable for an author.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so but that's the idea. People go, oh, will you tweet me? And I was like, I scroll their timeline. I don't see you ever reviewed any of my stuff, blocked. And I block them right then and there because you lack the social aptitude to know that you should do that. And you're asking for something.
Now, I have looked quite a bit at YouTube. I have some friends of mine who have had channels on YouTube. It seems like there is the monetization on YouTube is really changing. It doesn't really seem to be the place. Now, this is my perception. I wanted to ask you this. Is YouTube a place to build a presence any longer, or is it just not the place to go? It's a has-been site.
Well, the difference is the people are still there. The creators are being abused, but you're not going to make your money on ad revenue. You have to get into merchandise. You have to learn how to run your things as a business. But my advice to people who want to do this is don't. Get a good job, get a good salary, save your money, buy a rental property with 4 or 5 of your friends, set up a real estate trust. Everybody throws in 10 grand. This whole, I want to be an influencer thing. I'm like, no, it's overrated. You shouldn't do it. It's a really bad use of your time. And, a number of things. Or if it's somebody who's in a better place in life and they want to have an impact or something, then that's a different thing. But people who are new, I want to do this internet thing. I'm like, well, why? Probably because they're lazy, to be honest. It's because I don't want to work a job where I have to do things I don't want to do. Well, guess what? I do things I don't want to do every day of my life. And you think I want to be in Audacity playing with frame rate and compressing and everything? No, but most people are incompetent. So I edit my own podcast. And it's tedious. So I don't want to work. I was in an Excel sheet. You run businesses. You get into the Excel sheet. What are we at projections? I don't want to do that. Well, you're going to do a lot of tedium as a song. Yes. So usually when people want to be an influencer, they think that they could have been a Hollywood actor if only they'd done that. Or they are just lazy and they want an easy job for a 25-year-old. But then when you do the math, wait, you work that many hours, that's how much you make. What if you had done something else with your time and money? So it's like my don't go to law school thing. Don't become an influencer. But if you're going to be one, what would you do with $0, $1,000, $10,000, and $100,000? $1 million would be too much. Anybody, right? Somebody said, I want to do $1 million booth. No, you're actually wasting your money. That's going to go into waste, because if you have 100K and you do it right and you do it smart, that'll convert and then you have cash flow. Oh, wait a minute. Influencers have to worry about cash flow? Oh, wait, there's no magic money where you just, magic just happens. You don't have to think about cash flow and employees and W-2s and 1099s and everything else.
Well, and that's what I was leading into. From the folks I've talked to recently, the days of the $35,000 a month YouTube guy are long gone. That's just not happening anymore. Unless
new people won't.
Beyonce or something, right?
Yeah, with new people it won't. There was in the golden age of YouTube, I don't know. I had just a tiny channel at the time. I was doing a couple grand a month. Just the ads were crazy. You would do $5,000 at least for $1 million, no more than that. It was a lot of money. And So yeah, all these people got rich, and then things outside of their control. The media. The problem is the media got mad because ad revenue. Most people don't realize it, but the New York Times and Wall Street Journal are actually in competition with YouTube. Why? Because the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, they're not journalistic outlets, they're advertising agencies. Hey, you will advertise on our site and we'll sell your stuff to our customers. Well, Facebook can do that so much more efficiently due to lookalike audiences and targeting and the scale of things that they were losing all this ad dollars, the media. So then the media goes, oh, Coca-Cola advertisements are showing in front of this video where this guy says a bad word. And then all the ad companies freaked out and said, we're not going to advertise anymore. So the good old days are gone. They're way gone. So that's why people who talk about this stuff, they don't get the new information. Oh, well, this guy made $1 million on his YouTube. Yeah, he did it in 2015. And, what you don't know is he also bought a lot of ads, so he didn't really profit $1 million and any number of things. So yeah, now for just the mid-tier YouTube influencer, you have a full-time job that pays like a part-time job. I mean, think about it. A lot of these people on YouTube, they're working 12 to 14 hours a day. That people don't see that editing. This is a full-time job and they make $40,000 a year if they're lucky.
Right.
How many? That's an entry-level job, right?
Yeah.
Now, oh, I love it. It's my passion. Well, it's sitting around and moving a tiny little splice of video and syncing it with audio and then having your computer crack. That's your passion because that's 90% of what you're doing. And, but so yeah, you work full-time hours for a part-time wage. I don't even work full-time on my media stuff. I work part-time now because I'm working full-time on other businesses. But, and I'm, one of the winners or whatever. So people need to think, do I want to work, or they don't want to work full-time on their social media. And we go back to, do they want to be an influencer because they're willing to grind, or are they just lazy and they think it's going to be easy money? Because I know these people that they'll come to my events. Oh yeah. I'm like, you don't even blog every day, right? Like they're trying to ask me advanced, how do I monetize my site? How do I grow my site? Like you don't even blog every day. But so no, that you're never going to do anything. You better blog every day. I don't know what to write about. Well, then go work, get a real job. It's okay. I've had real jobs. I've never done a podcast denigrating work. I've waited tables. It's hard work. Don't get me wrong, but I do now is hard work. And I've never denigrated hard work or having the so-called real job. People should all have a real job.
Yes. Well, this is, I should say, if folks are interested in coming and chatting with you and I about this stuff, we are doing an event on June 1st in Napa Valley. Mike will have one of his famous cigar nights, and we'll have wine, whiskey. You can come and talk to Mike about whatever subject tickles your fancy, and you can come and talk to me about real estate or just about the good life and how to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And maybe if you're getting towards the sunset of your career, we can talk, about some passive income things, that I'm involved in that are interesting. But anyway, we'd love to see you on June 1st in Napa Valley. And Mike, you got anything to add to the event?
Yeah, show up. Show up. We kept general admission tickets. We don't make any money on GA tickets. So show up, rent a car, drive.
There's also an option, folks. We're going to sell a ticket that somebody can purchase that platinum ticket, and it includes the VIP experience, which is, winery tour and some other stuff with Mike and I, but it also includes recording an episode of this podcast, Mindset Squared, with Mike and I. I
price all my events the same way, which is, could 22-year-old Mike Cernovich afford to attend? Well, Mike Cernovich couldn't afford a platinum ticket, and I wouldn't put it on my credit card, and I would tell anybody listening, don't put a ticket on your credit card. But 22-year-old Mike Cernovich could come up with $85 for a ticket to be around great people, have cigars, meet other people. Why? Because I would drive a car and I would sleep at a rest station. It would have cost me a tank of gas, and because I had an old beater car, it cost me a tank of gas. I would have driven up, attended the event, and then the event got over. If I was too tired to drive, I would drive an hour or two down the way, and I'd pull over to a rest stop. And now, if you're a woman, don't do that. But, I was a man, and I would sleep in my car. And that's how I did it. So all these young guys, oh, yeah, I'm such a hustler and I'm this. Okay. Realistically, it's about $150 if you really want to make it happen. So I don't want to.
Right. And that includes dinner too. We're serving food at this thing too. So it's food, whiskey, wine, cigars, and hanging out with us. I mean, what could be better?
You either want it or you don't. And that's, again, there's a reason I price things away. If you're doing well off and you are doing a little bit better, come on, we're going to have a VIP tour. We'll go to do a wine tasting, hang out, totally cool. And if you're platinum or doing great, that's essentially you're helping the younger people in a way, because we're not these events, there's so many other ways to actually make a profit. And you're helping the young guys and the young gals who just want to grind and make it happen. You're helping them afford it and to find a way, because you're subsidizing tickets essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, that is exactly right. Yeah, neither one of us doesn't move the needle, certainly for me, and I'm sure it doesn't for you, to do an event. I mean, really, an event is a chance for us to network with some folks that we maybe only see or talk to on the internet. So, yeah, we'd love to have you there. And it's June 1st. And Mike, what's that link again?
Go to cernovich.com/events.
Perfect. Okay, we'll talk to you folks soon. And Mike, appreciate you hanging out again.
Always a pleasure.